Dipper still remained focused on his paper and test, trying to avoid anything to keep his mind off of what happened. Just ignore, just ignore, just ignore.
Dib continued to notice how Dipper was trying his best to keep his focus on his work and not let Zim get to him. He knew that it wasn't easy, with Zim giving Dipper those mean glares. But he was glad to see that Dipper was doing his best to ignore Zim's behavior and stay focused on his work.
7 minutes later, Miss Bitters, congrats, Pines. You're officially a nerd. Scrolling through his tests, giving him an A+ with annoyance, not that surprised. Dipper sighs in relief after handing in his test and getting an A+, while immediately spotted Zim still keeping a threatening eye on him. He gulped a bit, quickly hovering over towards Dib while trying to calm down and forget it by surprise and concerned.
Dib watched as Ms. Bitters handed Dipper back his test, noticing the A+ and the annoyed look on her face. He chuckled silently, knowing that Ms. Bitters was never really enthusiastic about handing out good grades. As Dipper hovered over towards him, he could see the slightly concerned and worried look on his face, which told him that Zim's glare hadn't been forgotten just yet.
Dipper, I can tell he hasn't forgotten about the meeting that I had with him earlier to meet him. I thought Zim would forget and just move on, but I guess I was wrong?
Dib sighed, realizing that Zim must still be upset about their conversation earlier, which was not good. He knew that Zim could hold a grudge like nobody else. Dib? Yeah, Zim never forgets things like that. If he's still giving you those looks, it means he's still thinking about what happened. But don't let it get to you, all right? You've already done your best to ignore him, and that's good. Dib paused for a moment, thinking about Zim's behavior from earlier.
Dipper, maybe, just maybe, he's slowly walking towards to Zim nervously while holding a juice and concerned. Zim, what is that string bean doing? What is he doing? Glared in arrogant disbelief, observing in curiosity.
Dib watched Dipper walk over to Zim in curiosity and concern, wondering what Dipper was up to. He also noticed that Zim was looking at Dipper with a mix of curiosity and arrogance, his glares less intense now.
Dipper, hey, Zim? Hey, Zim? Zim, what is it now, Earthworm? What is it now, Earthworm? Dipper, I just wanted to apologize. I wanted to apologize about what happened earlier, and you should know that deep down I didn't really mean what I said earlier, right? While trying to redeem himself and apologize while giving the drink of water he accidentally spilled it on Zim. Zim's body starts to heat up a bit, feeling burned by surprise. Dipper, huh?
Dib watched as Dipper approached Zim, trying to apologize and make up for what had happened earlier. He was surprised and concerned by Dipper accidentally spilling the water drink on Zim, noticing how Zim's body started to heat up slightly from the contact.
Zim screaming, looking at his body in panic by surprise and disbelief, immediately screaming in agony like he was in pain. The horror water! It burns! My clothes! My body! Ah! Dipper noticed this in worry, concern, getting more nervous and guilty in panicking, trying to fix it by wiping Zim's clothes. Oh crap, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, I swear. It was an accident. Honest.
Dib watched in shock and amazement as Zim began to scream and panic from the water that had accidentally spilled on him. His eyes widened in disbelief as he listened to Zim screaming and saw Dipper frantically trying to wipe away the water from Zim's clothes, apologizing profusely.
Zim, you foolish earthworm! Do you not realize what you did? What you did to me? Argan's skin cannot tolerate earth, meat, water, or veins. The former burning Argans like me terribly and sometimes even fusing to my skin. You're trying to melting me alive, are you? You're trying to melt Zim alive, aren't you? Aren't you? Triggered and terrified in disbelief. Dipper, looking more panic in concern, by surprise, disbelief, not realizing what he had done, making him feel guilty, more guilty, a bit confused. Wait, so you're weak to almost getting killed or worse by that liquid? I didn't know that. I'm so sorry. Nobody didn't told me. Look, I can fix it. I promise. Let me just trying to help wiping the water off Zim's body and clothes, seeing Zim still screaming in agony, making him more concerned, feeling terrible for what he did to Zim.
Dib looked on in disbelief and confusion as Zim continued to scream and panic, explaining how his Urkin skin was weak against earth, water, meat, and beans. He watched as Dipper tried to help, trying to wipe away the water from Zim's body and clothes, apologizing profusely. He could the guilt and concern on Dipper's face as he tried to fix the situation, not knowing that he had unintentionally caused Zim's burning pain.
The burning had stopped, as Zim, breathing pantingly, heavy, getting back up in relief, and triggery. He looks back at Dipper while immediately starting to get real furious with Dipper. Dipper gulped a bit, taken a few steps back, realizing what he did. He didn't want to make it worse, but it was too late. He looks at Zim's reaction now. It was too late now as he looks at Zim's reaction to what happened, feeling concerned and panicked.
Dib watched as Zim's burning had subsided, and he began to breathe heavily. Zim turned his gaze back to Dipper, and immediately his expression changed to one of anger and fury. Dib could see Dipper take a few steps back, his face filled with worry and panic. Zim's eyes narrowed and he clenched his fists, clearly not pleased with Dipper's unintentional mistake.
Zim, what were you thinking, ridiculous earthworm? Try to almost kill me or something? Dipper, what? No. It wasn't anything like that. Nothing like that at all. I swear. I was trying to make it up for my mistake earlier. I never meant to make it worse. I swear.
Dib watched as Zim continued to yell at Dipper, his voice filled with anger and frustration. He could hear the desperation and pleading in Dipper's voice as he tried to explain himself, trying to convince Zim that it was all an accident. But Zim's expression remained hardened, not buying Dipper's words in the slightest.
Zim, I don't know if it's the Dip thing's doing, but he's lucky. He's lucky I'm not after him. I'm not after him now. Now, not now, that I have to deal with a pitiful earth creature like you, Pines, like yourself. Immediately stepping towards Dipper, looking arrogantly menacing and threatening. Dipper backing away a bit, sweaty, regretfully nervous. Look, can we just talk about it? Talk about this? It's not on Dib or anything. It's not Dib's fault. Not on Dib or anything. Please, I really am sorry. I never noticed. I didn't want to make anything worse. I swear.
Dib watched as Zim continued to threaten and intimidate Dipper, taking another step towards him. He could see the fear and worry on Dipper's face as he tried to explain himself, trying to talk Zim down. But Zim's anger and frustration were apparent, and it didn't seem like he was interested in listening to Dipper's apologies or explanations.
Zim, you dare try to fight? You dare try to fight Zim like that? You dare try to fight Zim like that? Like that? Do you seriously want to face my wrath of doom? Of doom? Immediately getting closer, about to grab Dipper. Dipper continued backing away from passing Dib to bump to a wall, a dead end, feeling regretful, concerned. I wasn't trying to harm nobody, honest. You got it all wrong. You got it all wrong. I was just starting to stuttering from his words in defense.
Dib watched as Zim got even closer to Dipper, cornering him against the wall, and raised his voice menacingly. Dipper looked like a trapped animal, desperately trying to explain himself and defend himself, but stuttering and stumbling on his words, trying to calm Zim down before he did anything drastic.
Zim immediately grabbed a hold on Dipper by the shirt, immediately glaring, threatening, arrogantly furious. Dipper, surprised in panic disbelief, trying to break free from Zim's grasp, trying to reason with him. Look, listen, I didn't mean to trigger you. I was just trying to help, not look for trouble, I swear. Almost feeling choking, almost losing breath.
Dib watched as Zim grabbed Dipper by the shirt and held him tightly, his glare intense with anger and frustration. He could see Dipper desperately trying to break free, but Zim's grip was too strong. Dipper's voice was pleading and desperate as he tried to reason with Zim and beg for mercy. But Zim wasn't listening. Dib watched with a sense of panic and concern, wondering if he should intervene or not.
Zim, I've warned you earlier, didn't I? Didn't I not? I've warned you earlier, didn't I not? But you're testing my arrogance and patience of limits. You're testing my arrogance and patience of limits. Dipper, I just... Immediately about to lose breath, feeling almost about to choke while trying to reason with Zim in terrified panic. Save it, Earthworm. I just...
Dib watched as Zim's temper continued to rise and Dipper struggled to find air, his face turning red as he tried to speak, but only managed to gasp. Zim's grip on Dipper's shirt tightened further, and he leaned in closer, looking at Dipper with a cold, calculating glare.
Before anything brutal happened, the bell suddenly rang, knowing that it was time for lunch. Zim paused a bit and sigh in annoyance, in arrogance, annoyance, letting Dipper go for now. His expression never left as he glared at Dipper. This isn't over, filthy worm. You and me have a wrath to settle after school. Be there, or else I'll come for you myself. Immediately giving one last speech with a threat glare before walking out of the room to lunch. Dipper was left speechless while catching his breath, feeling panicked in nervous and regretful disbelief. From this, he looks back at Zim while gulping before glancing back at Dib with a concerned look on his face, still sweaty.
Dib watched as Zim finally let go of Dipper and stormed out of the room, making a threat to meet after school for unfinished business. He turned to look at Dipper, who was still catching his breath and looking shaken from Zim's aggressive behavior.
Dipper, Dib? Am I really dead? Am I really dead for sure?
Dib looked at Dipper, his expression a mix of concern and worry. He could see the fear and uncertainty on Dipper's face, and he knew that Zim's threat had rattled him. Dib, hey, don't worry, you're not dead. Zim's just upset, but he's just being his usual dramatic self.
Dipper, despite his arrogance and confidence, it's now mixed with fury and triggered now. So much for trying to redeem myself. Sighs a bit disappointed, but concerned about the consequences of facing Zim in a actual brawl, in a actual fight brawl. You're lucky he didn't do that around you, didn't he? You're lucky he didn't try doing that around you, didn't he?
Dib nodded in agreement, his expression still serious. He knew that Zim could be scary and unpredictable when he got upset. Dib? Yeah, thank goodness he didn't lash out at me like he did to you. But I still can't believe you managed to upset him that much with just a little water spill.
Dipper, it was an accident. I didn't know aliens like him are immune to water or any of a weakness to almost kill the skin or anything. Nobody told me Urkins are weakness to water or to almost fry to death or something drastic. I wasn't even trying to be a threat. Not trying to be a threat to him. And now I'm gonna have to face him in a actual brawl after school. Jesus.
Dib listened sympathetically and could sense the regret and fear in Dipper's voice. He knew how easy it was to unintentionally anger Zim, and how he could take a small incident and blow it out of proportion. Dib, I know, Dipper. It was an honest mistake. Zim can be quite sensitive about things, especially when it threatens his pride or safety. But he'll probably calm down by the time school's out. Hopefully.
Dipper chuckled slightly, hoping to forget the consequence of his mistake. I guess you're right. As long as we're together, I got nothing to worry about.
Dib smiled, sensing Dipper's attempted optimism, and patted him on the back. Dib, that's the spirit. Just stick with me, and we'll face whatever Zim throws at us. Together, he doesn't stand a chance.
Dipper, yeah, you're right. Hopefully he's just messing with me to probably scare me.
Dib nodded, trying to reassure Dipper. Dib, yeah, that's probably it. Zim loves to scare and intimidate people, but he rarely follows through on his threats. Just remember, he's all bark and no bite.
At lunch in the cafeteria, Dipper enjoying sandwiches a bit on the table while starting to gets a glimpse of Zim from a nearby different table. Witnessing Zim's biting and savagely arrogant behavior, Dipper sighs a bit as he looks back down at his food, trying to pay no mind to Zim's behavior, but the more he thought about everything, the more it's getting the better of him. Recalling everything in his head, making him mixed with a lot of emotions and choices.
Dib noticed Dipper glancing over at Zim, who was acting his usual arrogant and aggressive self, and could sense the anxiety and unease on Dipper's face. It seemed like Dipper was struggling to keep his mind off the situation with Zim, but the more he thought about it, the more his emotions and fears bubbled to the surface.
Dipper, am I really prepared for this? Am I really prepared for this? Maybe I shouldn't. Zim, hey, earthworm! Confidently aggressive. Dipper glanced attention back to Zim in flinch panic. Zim, this will be you once I'm done with you. Immediately bites edges of the food and spitting most out in a savage way, while his hand placed on his neck as he swung his arm like he was gonna slice someone's head off, while glaring menacingly at Dipper, giving Dipper a sign of off with his head. Dipper flinched from those signs Zim was giving to him, knowing clearly that he was dead off with his head off. He gulped a bit and quickly glanced down at his food, trying to find any possible way to fix this without the fight happening already.
Dib watched the exchange between Zim and Dipper, feeling his stomach drop as he realized the gravity of the situation. He knew that Zim was a dangerous individual and, unfortunately for Dipper, he had a penchant for making good on his threats. He saw the look of panic on Dipper's face as Zim made his hand gestures, clearly not intending to back down.
Dipper, did you saw the way he ate his food? The food? And not to mention the signal sign of off with my head part? Like, he's serious. Was he really giving me all that? Like, he's already prepared to destroy me? I know I'm not supposed to think that, but his arrogance and confidence mixed with fury is just really catching in, like he's not going to back down. Not going down without a fight. Never not without a fight. Without a fight. Clearly not wanting to be messed with.
Dib nodded in agreement, his face serious. Dib. Yeah, I saw it too. Zim's acting extra aggressive even by his standards. And that gesture he made, he was basically declaring war on you. He's definitely not going to back down easily or go down without a fight. Just how did you manage to piss him off that much?
I honestly don't know. Those stuff I didn't mean to do was an accident, I swear. I didn't have any intention to do it. I bet he's counting down the minutes until after school for me to face doom of his wrath.
Dib could sense the worry and fear in Dipper's voice, and he tried his best to reassure his friend Dib. Hey, don't worry too much. You didn't do anything on purpose. Zim's just overreacting as usual, and as much as he acts tough, he's just all bark and no bite. He never follows through on his threats, remember? He's probably just trying to scare you.
Dipper, yeah, hopefully I'll be ready.
Dib gave a small smile, trying to keep the mood light, Dib. That's the spirit. Just remember, you're smarter, braver, and more resilient than Zim could ever be. You've got this. I know you do.
7 minutes later, Dipper, checking through his locker, cleaning up a bit, still feeling concerned about everything, while getting a feeling that someone following him and watching him. The glaring and Zim's voice of words still echoed in his head as he tried to relax a bit, still looking through his locker.
Dib noticed Dipper's anxiety and nervous energy as he checked his locker and tried to organize his belongings. He could sense that Dipper was still feeling uncertain about the upcoming confrontation with Zim, and that his mind was racing with anxious thoughts and worrying scenarios.
Dipper can feel himself contemplating on the past moments of accidentally making Zim pissed. All of his starting playing on his mind again, especially Zim's words, flashbacks. Zim paused a bit, surprised by Dipper's statement of being hot-headed, which made him flinch a bit, arrogant, triggery, when even more in disbelief, embarrassment. Excuse you, string beast? Who you think you're calling hot-headed? I am not that hot-headed. Zim, I'm not overreacting. Began to glare at Dipper. Listen here, little human. Try to mess with me. Try to mess with the almighty Zim, and you will regret it. Got it? You will face doom of my wrath if you keep this up. Zim, this is between me and the string beast human earthworm here. If he tries to ever insult me, I'll make sure he'd never come across me. Ever. And make sure he ever regrets coming near me from his existence. Zim, you dare try to fight Zim like that? Like that? Do you seriously want to face my wrath of doom? Immediately getting closer, about to grab Dipper. Zim, I've warned you. I warned you earlier, didn't I? Didn't I not? But you're testing my arrogance and patience of limits. Zim paused a bit and sighs in annoyance, arrogance, letting Dipper go for now. His expression never left as he glared at Dipper. This isn't over, filthy worm. You and me have a wrath to settle after school. Be there, or else I'll come for you myself. Immediately giving one last speech with a threat glared before walking off out of the room to lunch. Back to reality. Dipper immediately gulps a bit. All of it was repeating stuck in his head. As he tried to fight back, he calms down a bit, panicked, still sensing Zim's presence nearby.
Dib was standing nearby, silently watching as Dipper continued to go through his belongings, his nerves clearly on edge. As he watched, he could see the tension and worry in Dipper's face, and he knew that his mind was still preoccupied with his encounter with Zim. Suddenly, he noticed that Dipper started to look like he was lost in thought, his eyes flickering as if he was remembering something or thinking intently about something.
Dipper looks at his locker mirror, noticing Zim near him, out of nowhere, glaring at him. Was he dreaming? This has to be a trick or a hallucination. He blinks, slightly looking behind him in disbelief, panicked, surprised.
Dib watched as Dipper looked into the locker mirror and noticed Zim standing a few feet behind him, his glare intense. Dib could see the shock and surprise on Dipper's face, and he knew that his friend was feeling alarmed and worried at Zim's sudden appearance.
Dipper, Zim?
Zim smirked arrogantly, pleased to see the mix of shock and surprise on Dipper's face. Zim. There you are. I've been looking for you, Earthworm.
Dipper, it's not time for the fight. Not time for the fight yet, right? Zim, perhaps not. Not yet. But just checking in. Just checking in. I can tell you won't last long. You won't last that long. I warned you earlier, didn't I? I warned you earlier, didn't I? Dipper, look, if this is about what happened earlier, I'm sorry. It was an accident. An accident. I swear, I didn't really mean to do anything messed up. Honest.
Zim cut Dipper off, not accepting his apology. Zim, you think a little apology is gonna cut it, Earthworm? You had your chance when I warned you, and you chose to ignore it. Now you're gonna face the consequences. And believe me, it won't be pretty.
Dipper, immediately glancing at Dib before looking back at Zim, still feeling nervous and sweaty in concerned disbelief.
Zim noticed Dipper's nervous glance in Dib's direction, and he chuckled in a menacingly arrogant way. Zim, looks like you're looking for some backup from your little friend over there, huh? Afraid you can't handle me on your own?
Dipper, I swear, I never meant to do no harm. There has to be some other way. I don't know. What do you plan on doing with me? I don't know what you plan on doing with me as planned. I don't know what you plan on doing with me, but there has to be another option to settle this. Another option at least to settle this.
Zim, another option? Laughs. You think there's another way to settle this? I gave you a chance earlier, and you blew it. Now, you're gonna face the consequences whether you like it or not. And trust me, I'm gonna make sure you regret ever messing with me.
Dipper gulped a bit, backing away a bit, disbelief. I thought you wouldn't take your threats that seriously.
Zim chuckled, his arrogance and confidence never faltering. Zim, I always take my threats seriously, Earthworm. And I'm a man of my word. You crossed the line with me earlier, and now you're gonna pay the price. You should have known better than to underestimate the great Zim.
Dipper. Zim looks around a bit for any sign of Dib or anyone before glaring back at Dipper with a menacingly arrogant smirk. See you after school, filthy worm. See you after school, filthy worm. Glared at Dipper before leaving off. Dipper sighed a bit, still panicking even more now, covering his face in the locker, trying to heavy breathing himself.
Dib, who had been watching the exchange from a distance, walked over to Dipper and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Dib, hey, don't let Zim get to you. He's all talk, remember? Sure, he's dangerous, but he's also arrogant and foolish. We've beaten him before, we can do it again.
Dipper, too bad I wasn't there when you're against him those times.
Dib chuckled slightly, attempting to lighten the mood. Dib, yeah. Maybe having seen his arrogant ass get kicked before would have been reassuring for you, huh? But honestly, Zim may seem scary, but he's got a lot of flaws and weaknesses. He's not invincible, trust me.
Dipper, yeah, especially since I know his weaknesses now, like meat, beans, water, those such maybe. Maybe I should use that to my advantage? Or wait, what if he underestimated me? What if he underestimated me and outsmart me by knowing my fear or something?
Dib raised an eyebrow, surprised by Dipper's comment about using Zim's weaknesses to his advantage. Dib, that's a pretty good idea. Using Zim's weaknesses against him can definitely give you an edge. Dib paused, considering Dipper's second question. But I don't think you should be too worried about Zim knowing your fears. He may be smart, but he can also be incredibly predictable sometimes. He'll probably focus more on trying to show off his own strength and superiority than trying to exploit your fears.
Dipper, yikes, hopefully not like a damn psycho Freddy Krueger. Thank God he can't be like that.
Dib chuckled at Dipper's comparison to Freddy Krueger. Dib, trust me, Zim's a lot of things, but he's definitely not like Freddy Krueger. Sure, he can be menacing and creepy, but he's not a nightmare-inducing slasher villain. He's more of a wannabe dictator with a massive ego and a short temper. Dib smiled at Dipper's chuckle. Dib, you see what I mean? Zim's not some supernatural nightmare that's gonna haunt your dreams. He's just a small, green, self-absorbed alien with a bad attitude. And trust me, I've dealt with him enough times to know his limits. Dib leaned against the locker next to Dipper's, his expression more serious now. We've got this, Dipper. We can take Zim down, no problem.
Dipper, I guess so.
Dib sensed a hint of nervousness and doubt in Dipper's voice. He gave his friend a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Dib, hey, don't be too concerned. We've handled Zim before, and we'll do it again. Remember, we're smarter and stronger than he is. He may think he's invincible, but he's not. Dib chuckled slightly, as if amused by Zim's arrogance, and besides, his ego is so big, it's hard to take him seriously sometimes.
Dipper, yeah, I bet.
Dib chuckled, enjoying the moment of lighthearted banter. Dib, exactly. Zim's ego is practically his biggest weakness. He's so focused on proving his superiority that he often underestimates his opponents. And when he does that, he leaves himself wide open for a counterattack. Dib smirked, his confidence growing. We've seen it happen before, and we'll see it happen again. Zim may be smart, but he's also predictable. That's our advantage.
Dipper, lucky for you. Yeah, you're lucky he's not going to fight you, but me. But only me.
Dib chuckled, trying to reassure Dipper. Dib, come on, Dipper. You've got this. You know Zim's weaknesses, and you're smart enough to figure out a plan to take him down. Dib paused and gave a reassuring smile. And besides, you've got me. I'll be here to support you and offer any help I can. We can handle Zim together.
Dipper, thanks. You're a great friend. I'm guessing you're just doing this in return because of me being a good friend around you when I first met you on the bus earlier, right?
Dib chuckled at Dipper's words. Dib, yeah, of course. I always repay my friends for being good friends. Dib paused, then gave a small smirk. Plus, Zim's an annoying pain in the ass in general, so any chance I get to watch his arrogant ass get humbled is a bonus in my book. Dib chuckled, enjoying their banter. Dib. But seriously, Dipper, don't worry too much. You've got this. You've got the brains, the bravery, and the skill to take on Zim. Dib paused and gave him a reassuring smile. Just remember, don't underestimate yourself. You're a lot stronger and smarter than you give yourself credit for, believe me.
Dipper, wait, what's that sound? Keith, everyone! Didn't you all hear the news? Zim is gonna fight the new kid. Zim is going to fight the new kid after school. I repeat, Zim is gonna fight the new kid after school. Be there. Shouting, spreading the rumor in shock, excitement, surprise. All of the students around the hallway start to whisper among each other by surprise and interest. Couldn't believe this and started to get interested to be after school to see the fight happen. Dipper immediately flinched, a bit surprised, noticing the news was spread as a rumor around the school in disbelief concerning.
Dib was startled by the sudden news spread by Keith, and he exchanged a concerned glance with Dipper. Dib. Oh, no. I was hoping this wouldn't happen. With Keith spreading the news around, it's no surprise that everyone is getting interested in this fight. Dib noticed the students whispering and showing interest in the fight between Zim and Dipper. He understood Dipper's concern and tried to reassure him, despite his own anxiety. Don't worry, Dipper. We'll figure something out. We've handled Zim before. We can do it again.
Dipper, you mean you have, but not me. But I'm already... You mean you have, but I'm not. I'm not. I'm already... I'm not ready. I'm not ready, okay? I'm not ready. You're the only one that's been through many fights with Zim before, but I haven't. That's the issue. That's the problem.
Dib's expression softened, understanding Dipper's fear and concern. Dib. Yeah, I know. But listen, Dipper, you may not have as much experience as I do, but you're smart and you're quick on your feet. Plus, you already know Zim's weaknesses way better than most people do. Dib gave Dipper a reassuring smile. You're not alone in this. I'll be there to support you. We'll get through this together, okay?
Dipper nodded, slightly grateful, confident.
Dib noticed Dipper's nod, and his expression softened further as he saw the growing confidence in his eyes. Dib. That's the spirit, Dipper. I know you can do this. Just remember, stay calm and keep your head. Zim may try to taunt and provoke you, but don't let him get under your skin. Keep your focus, and use your intelligence to your advantage. Dib paused and placed a reassuring hand on Dipper's shoulder. You're more capable than you think, my friend. Trust yourself.
Dipper smiled a bit. 7 minutes later, at class, Dipper sitting on his table, feeling a bit sweaty but confident, trying not to be focused on Zim and not pay any attention of Zim while sensing Zim's pissed behavior. He sighed a bit, looking at the clock as the clock was ticking to the end of school. Dipper can't tell if it was almost ready for the fight. Noticed Zim was preparing in a menacing, arrogant way. He tries to pay no attention to it, still looking at the clock.
Zim sat at his table, visibly impatient and annoyed. He couldn't wait to confront Dipper after school, his arrogance and overconfidence growing with every passing moment. Zim glanced over at Dipper, noticing him trying to ignore his presence. Zim bristled with a mix of irritation and satisfaction, enjoying the fact that Dipper was clearly anxious and on edge. Just then, the bell rang, signaling the end of class. Zim smirked, ready for the showdown about to happen.
Miss Bitters, all right. Everyone, school is over. Go home. Purple hair student. Guys, it's time for the fight. Everyone rushes outside the school, gathering around in enthusiasm, interest for the fight. Dipper, noticing all this happening, taking a deep breath in concern, hoping Dib will be there for him as he got up from his seat.
Dib stood on the sidelines, watching as everyone gathered around, excited and curious about the upcoming fight. He glanced at Dipper and saw the concern and trepidation in his eyes. He knew that Dipper was feeling overwhelmed by the situation, and he felt a pang of worry for his friend. Dib stepped forward, pushing his way through the crowd until he was standing next to Dipper. Dib. Hey, Dipper. You okay? Don't worry, I'm right here for you.
Dipper calms down a bit, getting some confidence. He was now outside. Noticing Zim right in front of him. Noticing Zim's menacing glare, but tries to not let it get the better of him. Zim preparing himself while pressing his pack to use the high-tech pack legs with electricity for defense, ready to fight. It's time, filthy earthworm. The time has come. It's time, filthy earthworm. Dipper gulped a bit, his feeling nervous by surprise, by Zim's look and words in concern. He thought to himself, hoping maybe one last talk out might stop the fight at the process, hoping not wrong. Listen, I get that you're pissed, but you should know that I really am sorry about the overpaying insults and the accident spilling liquid on you. I didn't know it would cause harm. I really am sorry. Honest to reach us settle in a... What I'm trying to say is, I really am sorry. I didn't want to cause any harm. I really am sorry. Honestly, there has to be another way for both of us to settle in a better civilized way.
Zim smirked, clearly more interested in fighting than apologizing. Zim. Pathetic earthworm! You think I care about your pathetic apologizes? Zim has no use for your words of weakness. You have disrespected and humiliated Zim, and now you must face the wrath of my powerful pack legs! Zim extended his pack legs, electricity crackling from them as they prepared for the fight.
Dipper flinched a bit, nervously panicked, while looking around his surroundings, noticing all the students excited cheering for the fight to begin. Then he glanced back at Zim. His eyes widened, his face started to become more red and sweaty at every moment.
The crowd around them grew more eager, cheering and chanting for the fight to begin. Zim could feel their excitement, and he reveled in it, loving the attention and the chance to prove his superiority. Zim. Yes, you see, foolish earthworm. They are all here to watch me defeat you. All of them are eager to see you be humbled and crushed by my might. Zim chuckled maliciously, his eyes gleaming with excitement.
Dipper didn't say anything, but looked everywhere around his surroundings in panicked disbelief. Zim. Now, puny human, are you going to fight? Are you going to fight me or kneel? Are you going to fight me or kneel? Choose wisely. My high-tech skills will be ready for your reply. Either way. Preparing himself by full force. Dipper. Crap. I can't be ready for this. This ain't... Looking down himself, whispering to himself before looking back at everyone around him. Listen, couldn't we just settle this in a better, calmer, civilized way instead of violence? Instead of violence, I'm sure there's no need. There's no need.
Zim's smirk grew wider, clearly enjoying the fact that Dipper was showing weakness and indecision. Zim. Silence, fool! There is no room for civilized discussion, only the language of power. You have disrespected Zim, and now you must pay the price. The crowd around them began to get louder and more restless, clearly eager for the fight to begin.
Dipper feeling a bit concerned, nervously, by a nightmare coming true, hoping Dib might be around. He feels not ready for this, especially if Dib wasn't around. His face sweated a little.
The crowd around Dipper continued to cheer and scream loudly, their excitement and anticipation reaching a fever pitch. Zim was clearly loving every moment of it, his ego inflated by the attention and support from the others. But Dipper's mind was racing, searching desperately for a way out. Where was Dib? Was he about to face Zim all alone?
Dib.
Just then, as if he heard Dipper's silent plea, Dib pushed his way through the crowd and appeared beside Dipper. He saw the worry and fear in his friend's face and stepped in front of him, standing as a protective barrier between Dipper and Zim.
Dipper. Huh? Zim. What? What is this filthy Dib thing? Stay out of this. This fight is between me and the string beast worm. Dipper sighed a bit relieved, still panicked though. I thought you never come for a moment there.
Dib didn't take his eyes off of Zim, his stance firm and determined. Dib, shut up, Zim. I'm not going to let you bully Dipper around like this. Dib glanced back at Dipper, giving him a reassuring smile. Dib, I would never leave you alone to face Zim by yourself. We're in this together.
Dipper smiled gratefully, emotionally concerned while looking between Dib and Zim at thought.
Zim's smirk faded, replaced by annoyance and frustration. Zim, you fools! You think you can stop Zim's victory? You're both pathetic and weak. The crowd around them grew louder. Some started to chant to begin the fight, while others shouted in excitement and anticipation.